Welcome to Quilting on the Side, the podcast where we uncover the secrets to turning your passion for quilting into a profitable side hustle.
I'm Tori from the Quilt Patch by Tori.
And I'm Andi from True Blue Quilts. And together, we're your co-hosts on this exciting journey of creativity, entrepreneurship, and all things quilting.
We're here to help you navigate the world of quilt pattern design, course creation, digital marketing, and running an online quilt business. We've been through the ups and downs ourselves, so we know what it takes to make money from your favorite hobby.
That's right, Tori. We're going to share our experiences on how we've grown our businesses while balancing family with other paying work responsibilities. It's not always easy, but it's definitely possible. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Quilting on the Side. We strive to bring you stories of quilters who are actually growing their business, and we found a great resource for you. Actually, Tori, you met Julia, so I'll let you tell that part of the story.
Yeah, so I met Julia, who is our guest today, at in the Craft Industry Alliance. We are part of the same mastermind. And she shared a win for her for, I believe it was last week. It's been a busy couple weeks. It feels like a month ago, but she shared how great her launch went. So I invited Julia on as a case study for her launch. So a couple of months ago, I think by this point when the podcast is aired, we had a launch episode where we talked about the launch roller coaster, and we had a listener mention or message me and ask, or the podcast really, and asked about, she gave feedback on the episode, and it was a very positive feedback. And I asked her if she had any suggestions, any questions, follow up, because we know how much goes into a launch. And she suggested having a case study. So it was thanks to her that we thought of this. And then days later, Julia mentioned her launch, and I was so excited. I was like, hey, Julia, do you want to be on the podcast? And of course she said yes, and she is here today. So we are going to be going through case study questions and asking her more about herself and her business and her launch. So Julia, welcome to Quilting on the Side. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about you and your business?
All right, so I'm Julia Walks Designs. Thanks so much for having me on. I started my business back in 2020 during the pandemic and started with pattern releases, just simple pattern releases. And in the years since, I've really have been drawn to foundation paper piecing and applique. And so I created my first throw of the month last year, and it was like a tropical tapestry that incorporated both foundation paper piecing and applique. And that's one of my favorite projects to date. And so my current launch that I've been going through right now is my Vesta row of the month, which is similarly both foundation paper piecing and applique, but it's some larger blocks that are on point. So it's more of a larger scale type block of the month. So yeah, that's kind of what I do right now. Mostly pattern releases.
I'd love to hear a little bit about how you got into foundation paper piecing.
So my day job is an engineer, and I think like many engineers, we're really drawn to geometric patterns. So it goes hand in hand with quilting, and you can get very precise geometry with foundation paper piecing, and I think that's why I was initially drawn to it.
I love the answers. All right, so I'm going to get into our launch case study questions. So it's going to be more like an interview and rather a little less as a discussion, I think. And then, and I forgot to mention before we dive totally into Julia's launch, we also are going to be sharing the same questions from Andi. So we're going to be doing a direct comparison between Julia's launch and Andi's launch. So this is going to be a really interesting episode, a little bit different than we've ever done before. All right, Julia, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so the first question I have for you is just to kind of describe what you finished launching. So describing your Row of the Month program and what you offered your quilters.
So I would say I'm actually still in the launch window right now. I started with like an early bird type launch with like a special discount. And I did that because my quilt was not yet finished. And it's honestly still not finished yet, but it's being custom long armed, so I think it'll be worth it. But I offered a discount for anyone who, took a chance for, without like a picture of it being fully completed. And so I'm still in the window right now, and I'll probably still be in the window until the end of April, because I think that's still enough time for people to join.
So the plan right now is you had a pre-sale,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're extending it through the first couple of weeks?
Yeah, I'm hoping to have like a nice photo of the completed quilt sometime in April. So
I'm excited to see it. It's gorgeous quilt. I can't wait to see it quilted.
thank you. Yeah, I'm getting it custom quilted. So, and I've seen sneak peeks and it's looking really cool.
So with the Row of the Month, how are you releasing? And do you have like prices or anything?
No prizes. So it's all through, I have Shopify, and it's all through a membership platform through Shopify that I've purchased. And so it's like this member only area, and it's really for like courses, and I'm just using it for people to download the PDF pattern and to access the videos that I'm making for each month. So it's like a drip release
Okay.
on the
And
first of each month. Yeah.
how long is it?
A year.
A year? Oh, a year. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay. That's a really smart way, I think, to go about it, is using that course, um, not platform, but
Like a template on
organization.
the.
Yeah, the way it's organized for an entire year-long program. I think that's a great way to utilize that.
So the software, or it's an app, I guess, within Shopify, it's called Tivello, and it's not that expensive per month. So if it's like a good alternative to some of the more expensive platforms out there.
Thank you for sharing that. All right, let's see. So, what were your goals or expectations going into the launch? Like, how many signups were you thinking?
So I'll go back to Isla, which is my first row of the month, and I didn't have very many expectations for that one. I just wanted it to be a fun sew along for people. And I had 125 people sign up, which was like, wow, that's amazing. And so for Vesta, my stretch goal was to double that. um, and so I was, worried about it. Not worried, but it's a stretch goal. I was gonna try and get there, try to get to 250, and using the same email list, hoping that my name had been out there a little longer now and like people would trust me to have a good row of the month program. Um, but yeah, I did meet that goal. Actually tripled my Isla numbers, so it's been amazing.
That's awesome. I can't wait to dive into that here in just a minute. Did you have any expectations for your list to grow?
Um, Not like directly. I wasn't thinking, oh, I want to grow my list by this much. I was just hoping to add people as they found me.
Awesome. This is so exciting. I love this. Okay, so our next question for you is what did you do to prepare for your launch?
So this time, while I was making my quilt, I was trying to take a lot more photos and videos throughout the process, because with Isla, I kind of felt like, I finished it, but I wish I had more in process photos. Like I didn't take individual block photos. And I was like, why didn't I do that?
I did that too with my block of the month. I forgot to take individual block photos. I had to go
Yeah,
back.
it's so easy to just be like, all right, we're making this. I'm just making it, and then not pause and take pictures. But I did this time, and I also, tried to like think about, okay, what would make good like reels or videos, because I was already filming how I'm doing the blocks, how I'm making the blocks as part of the row of the month anyway. So I think that helps me be more in the mindset of like, okay, what do I need to capture during this launch? And I also coordinated with shops for kits farther in advance than I did before.
How many shops did you kit with?
So I originally coordinated with 3 different shops. Sotopia, Tacoma Fabric Co., and Peace Fabric Co. And I did that because Sotopia had like the cover quilt colors, and then Tacoma had some more earthy tones, and then Peace was actually in Canada. And I knew from Isla that I had some Canadians that joined in. And then over the course of the launch, I had some other shops, one in the UK, no, not in the UK, one in Germany, and then another one in the US reached out. And they had different designs. So I didn't feel like it was taking away like business from the other shops that I had originally coordinated with.
How did you think of not coordinating with shops, but getting in with shops to kit your quilt?
Well, for Isla, some reached out after I had launched.
Okay.
And so it being after the launch kind of meant that fabric would arrive later. So I knew I wanted to do that again because it's kind of like a mutually beneficial relationship, because they're telling their followers about it. I'm telling my followers to buy fabric from this shop. So we're both like spreading the word about each other's products. And I don't know, I think it's just one of those things I've picked up over the years being on Instagram. People have kits and people love kits. People love to pick out kits. So I thought it'd be a fun thing to do.
Yeah, that is a win-win. We talk about collaborations as being so beneficial, and you're right. People like to have kits, whether it's the fact that you've got all the fabric together and ready to go, or if you are a little bit unsure about color combinations, it's already chosen for you with the kit. So yeah, that was a smart move. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So we know you've used that relationship, that collaboration to get the word out. What else did you use as like marketing channels and getting the word out about your block of the month?
Well, my main strategy was to use email, of course. And social media. The one I think you and I talked about this, Tori. I have a reel of me putting all my blocks up on my design wall. I thought it'd be like, oh, this would be cool. And that honestly just like went kind of viral. I was like, my goodness. So that wasn't originally my strategy, but I think it is the key to how I reach my goal. And that's like partially luck. The Instagram gods smiled upon me that day. But it's like, okay, maybe people do like my designs. So
The gorgeous quilt. I've seen the reel. It's really fun. Fun with that one. And then I had a follow-up question about your marketing, because you did mention Instagram and your email. So with email, did you have a plan for your emails, or were you just sending them out with your regular like newsletter?
I tried to do so. I'll be honest, keeping up with email is not my strong suit. My goal now is to send an email every 2 weeks. And so I sent one like to announce that it was first open, and then 2 weeks later talked about it again with some other stuff. I had a different tutorial. So I try not to just be like, buy this from me. I want to like I don't know, be more genuine in forming relationships with people, and not just have them hear from me when I'm trying to sell them something. um, so yeah, I just try to mention it every 2 weeks, and then um, it's been helpful too because I've had more like quilt shops that have kits, so it's kind of like a new colorway picture that I'm sending out, and I think that is at least visually interesting to look at.
Okay. And then with your Instagram, did you create any content? Like you mentioned the reel, did you create any more content specifically for the block of the month?
Yeah, so I created several reels, but one was like I guess a sneak peek or like a preview of what the actual video within the row of the month would be. So it's, like a real version, super sped up and like lots and lots of cuts. Just like, here's like a very quick preview of what I will be showing you in the actual platform.
I'm imagining whenever I launch something, my launch kind of takes over my feed. Did you do that, or did you kind of space everything out between what other things you might offer?
So right now it's March, and that is the IG Quilt Fest. So I've also been, I'm really bad at keeping up, but I would do like a batch of like 4 or 5 at one time just to share about myself. Um, but yeah, there's no social media plan. I'm just like, I think this would be interesting.
It's working. All right. So how did you let everyone know it was ready? So you mentioned an email. Was there anything else you did in particular? Like, was there a webinar or was there just email and social media?
So I had like a couple little like sneak peek posts on Instagram that didn't reveal the full mock-up. But the day I opened up registration, I revealed the full mock-up on Instagram and then also on email. And I sent like a preview of it to anyone who had done Isla, and I gave them a pretty good discount for taking a chance on me for the first one. So it was kind of like they got to see it ahead of time. And yeah, I think the main thing was to send it out on email.
And then, okay, so I had a few questions about when the cart closes, but it's still open. So I'm going to kind of rephrase that as, how is it going? And you mentioned it a little bit, but let's dive in. How is it going?
It's going really well. And I think the main reason is, or a pretty big chunk of that reason is just the reel that I made. And I also put it on TikTok, and it was pretty popular on TikTok too. So people just responded to that design and me putting it up row by row on my design wall. But yeah, it's been going well. It was funny because I was at the Emerald City Comic Con that day, so I like wasn't super online, and every time I like checked my Instagram, I was just like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on?" But it was great because a lot of people found me that way, both like new followers on Instagram, and a lot of people, even if they didn't buy the pattern, they still got on my email list. So that was still a win. I was still happy about that.
So so you said you tripled your previous row of the month for signups. So that's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. How many followers did you gain? And if you have that number, like I'm not talking specifics, but if you can remember, like, did you gain a couple hundred, a couple thousand, just out of curiosity, and your email list as well? Did you gain a couple, like, did you get like 30, or did you get like a couple hundred?
Yeah. So my Instagram, I think, was like around 4,500, and right now it's like 8,200. So it was huge. Yeah. And then for my email list, I probably gained maybe 300 to 400 people. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it was.
Well, congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you. It was exciting to see that happen.
And then, do you mind sharing how many people you have signed up currently?
Right now, 380 people. Yeah.
Are you having trouble with customer service or anything because of the bulk of people, or did the system you set up, is it taking care of everyone well right now?
So with Isla, I was originally using like my email platform, Flowdesk, to send people the patterns. And a lot of people were missing them just by the nature of like a email service provider. So what I kind of took that and I actually transitioned to a platform in the middle of Isla, which was difficult. That caused a lot of issues, but a lot of people were happy with being able to like go to one spot to find them and not like search through their emails. And so for Vesta, I originally was like, okay, we're just going to do this platform. It worked out pretty well, even though there are issues. And I actually sent like a housekeeping email from my personal email. Like this is like a real email from me. That's just like, hey, please check that you can log in and that, make sure that this email that I'm sending you right now is going to the email address you want to receive your block patterns at. And just trying to like clear up any potential issues beforehand. And I also, the platform that I use, Tabello, has really good support. So I was able to get some of my questions answered about like easily changing someone's email or like sending them a password request, or like a change your password type thing, because people are always having account issues and that's to be expected. So I'm better equipped to handle it and I can do it from my phone. So even when I'm like at work, I can just like, okay, here's a new email for you to log in. But yeah, it's all me doing the customer service.
Did you get any help at all?
No.
Next time, hire out that assistant for some customers.
Yeah, we'll
That's
see.
actually my next question. And I was going to ask, what would you do? What would you keep the same, and what might you do differently next time?
So the same would just be like the way that I've marketed it. I feel that it's true to me. Um, it's more of like a, hey, if you love this design, please join in for this. I'm not trying to convince anyone to buy my pattern. The main thing I do differently, I'd say this, but it's hard to put into practice, which would be to finish my quilt earlier. um, or just like if I had known that custom quilting would take longer, I would have, I think, planned for that. But even I knew it would be done after the start date, but I decided to still do it because I had met my goal, and I eventually want to show this quilt. I want to submit it to things, and I want the quilting to be amazing. And I'm not a good blank quilter. I don't have a long arm or anything, so I gotta hire someone to do that.
1 second. My husband just went outside with Devin. Devin, can you? My husband just went outside with the trash, and my 1-year-old or 2-year-old now might scream. So just give it a second. It's like right next to the back door, so it should be okay. Sorry. Okay. All right. Our last question for you is, I want to know what's coming up for you and your business.
So this fall, well, first of all, getting married in the fall. So that is Thank you. That's I know that's going to take up a lot of mental space. So I have deliberately not planned for a lot of things this year. And then we're also planning to move early next year. So I will not be doing a full row of the month next year, but I will pick it back up um, probably in 2026. But I'm doing like a smaller sampler in January 2025. And for anyone who plays Wingspan, the board game that's all about birds, my friend and I are doing a Wingspan inspired FPP quilt. And then also, I'm really hoping to release a foundation paper piecing course in September. And I want to teach people how to do FPP, but I also want to teach people how to design their own patterns with different software tools. So those are the three things that I'm really concerned about right now.
Yeah, that's definitely a full plate, but
Yeah.
when it's one of those things, when you have that creative energy, it finds an outlet. So
Yes, there
yeah.
has to be an outlet. I
I
get
love
really
that.
crabby if I cannot release it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that you're going deep with your love of foundation paper piecing. You've got these amazing block of rows of the month, and then you're going into teaching people how to foundation paper piece and other pattern designers how to design their own, or not just pattern designers, but quilters in general, how to design their own foundation paper piecing from software. I think that's amazing, and that I love that you're going deep instead of wide, especially at such a busy time of your life. I think everyone needs to hear that. She has a full-time job. She's getting married. She's moving, but she's got these plans in place that where she's going deep with her audience, and she is planning ahead with things that are easier for her to manage. So you can still grow your business and gain a little bit of revenue on the side while doing all of life's crazy activities.
Yeah. At least I'm going to try to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Logistical question, with how you're running the row of the month. It sounds like, I just want to clarify, you've already recorded the technique videos that will release to the course.
So I've recorded the clips, and I'm trying to put them together, like create the full. They're ending up being like 20 to 30-minute videos, and trying to work ahead
Yeah.
and get those done by the end of April for every single month.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I know my life's going to get crazy
Yeah.
in the fall. So
Sure. So are you sewing another sample? Because you've already got one done and at the long armor. So are you creating a second version of Vesta to kind of quilt along with the timeline of the row of the month?
no, I just tried to document it really well while I was doing it. I like to do other things,
Yeah.
so I'm like, I
I
made
love
one.
that. We've had several designers share that they don't like to make the same thing twice. And I think that is a great way to plan ahead, where as you created it, you filmed it, and then it was ready for you to edit later on.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was planning to make another Isla, and I bought fabric for it and everything, and I never made a block. So learn from that lesson.
Yeah. So that's another key to plan ahead, to, like you said, document your process as you're doing it
Mhm.
the first time, because um, I've run into the challenge of making. I'll make the sample block and I'll take the step-by-step photos, but for some reason they're not detailed enough, or they're not in exactly the right order to then become a tutorial. So then I feel like I have to end up making another sample to get a better tutorial, and then I end up with pieces and parts of 16 different things.
Yeah, I'm trying to document really well, and I have a specialty light that's you put your phone in there and you can see your um, cutting area or whatever, just like your work surface. And there's been some shots where like my hands kind of get it off the screen. And luckily I realize it, but I'm just like, I think people will get the idea and it doesn't have to be like professional quality. It's pretty good, I'll say, but it's not going to win me any awards.
As long as it gets the point across, and it
Yes.
sounds like you've got enough experience with the Isla row of the month, and you've definitely got the buy-in of an audience, growing audience. So yeah, best of luck as it continues for the next few months.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here and providing all that information for us and being brave enough to share like all the behind the scenes, and because I know that can be really intimidating. But lastly, before we let you go, I want you to go ahead and tell our podcast community where they can reach you, or like get in touch with you.
Sure. So I'm on Instagram at juliawalks.designs, and you spell my last name Wachs. And you can also find me on juliawalks.com. And I'm on TikTok, juliawalks.designs.
Sounds
Excellent.
good.
Thank you for being
Well,
here, Julia. It was nice to see you.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, we are back with part 2, and this time I will be interviewing Andi. So to keep everything really similar, I want to start with the same questions that I introduced to Julia. So Andi, will you tell me who you are and what is your business?
I'm Andi from True Blue Quilts, and I have been focused the last few years on half rectangle triangles with rectangular quilt blocks. So I'm doing things a little bit different, and that's the name of my block of the month that I offered in 2023 and have just returned for a part 2 in 2024.
I love that name, a little bit different. So how were you introduced to quilting?
I started quilting, hashtag it's my mom's fault, because she opened a fabric store as a retirement project, and I was helping her, fell in love with fabric, and just had to start making all the things.
And how were you introduced to half square rectangles? Almost said
Half
squares.
rectangle triangles.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, one more time.
HRT.
What was it?
Half rectangle triangles.
Half rectangle triangles. Got it.
Yes. And again, it's my mom's fault. She took a class on angle play, which are specialty templates to help you make all different sizes of HRT units. And we just collaborated on a bunch of quilts, and I had a lot of fun stretching my quilt blocks.
Fun. All right, so about your launch. So what did you just finish launching? And describe the program for us.
I took several of the blocks from the Little Bit Different Block of the Month program and put them together in a sampler quilt. And I marketed this as an introduction to half rectangle triangles, a fun modern quilt, and I was offering a virtual workshop, so an online Zoom class for quilters to make the blocks for the sampler.
So what were your goals or expectations going into this launch?
I was hoping to have a small group online for this quilt class. So anywhere from, I would have been happy with 3. If there were 10 to 12, that would have been awesome. Of course you can accommodate, 100 people on Zoom. I don't know that is practical for a live event workshop, but yeah, I was hoping to have a handful of people. And kind of the foreshadowing, you can tell from my voice, I had none. The workshop did not happen. No one signed up for that. So it's kind of a bummer, but in business. You have to be resilient. Just call it a data point, learn the lesson, and move on and try again. So
I really respect your positivity and your bravery, again, coming on here and sharing that you had a launch that did not go well or did not go as expected, and that you're willing to share that experience with our podcast listeners.
yeah, it's hard to admit those failures, but I think they happen more than the big successes. So it just helps. And that's why we're here at Quilting on the Side, is to let other solopreneurs, people dabbling in the quilt industry, getting started with their pattern designs and business efforts, to know that there are bumps in the road. We just keep moving forward, and we're all here to support you. So come along for the ride.
So speaking of which, I want to go through the same questions I gave Julia. We already have foreshadowing that it's not going to be great, but what I would love us to do is be able to compare her actions with your actions and see if there's anywhere where that last question with what would you do differently? Because we just interviewed her. She had great success, and we are following up this interview directly after hers. So we're still like glowing in Julia's launch. So I don't want you to feel like I'm putting you on the spot. So if there's any question you don't want to answer, just let us know. Let me know, because I'm interviewing you.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's fine. And I try to plan launches, but this kind of came together, and I picked the date, and it wasn't very far ahead, and I just kind of broadcast it out there. So my audience to begin with, it sounds like it's a little bit smaller than Julia's was. So I emailed my list. I did get and I gave them a discount, because then I was offering it to the public as well. My marketing channels were Instagram, Facebook, and my YouTube channel. I did share there with both the reels and shorts videos, along with some static posts. But like I said, it all kind of came together at the end. And looking back at my Instagram feed, I felt like I had been talking about it, quite a bit, several times at least. And no, I had like three posts with other stuff mixed in between. So I was really scatterbrained, and that obviously shows up in the dismal numbers.
Yeah, mindset plays a huge part in launching and making sure that everything is lining up. Like, I can see if you felt scatterbrained, then the information you're putting out will probably feel a bit scattered.
Yeah.
So did you have a plan ahead of time, or were you just kind of in the moment going for it with social media and YouTube and email?
Well, I had a plan. I had the pictures and the videos and things that I was able to put together and put out there. In hindsight, obviously, it needs to come together with a much more cohesive schedule and kind of look and feel for the messaging. And we know that people need 7 to 12 touch points before they buy. And yes, my audience, my email people, hopefully will have built up over the months or years that they've been in contact with me. So this isn't necessarily the number one of 7 touch point, but I definitely would want to put a consistent Instagram series of posts together for a couple weeks ahead of time, so that I could really get that number up of dedicated posts, consistent look and feel for the images, to stay top of mind for people.
And since you brought that up, I've been learning more about different ways to brand. That was one of my goals at the beginning of the year, was kind of learning more about branding. And there are strategies where you brand your specific launch. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at. And I just kind of want to put words to it, where if you have a brand across the board for just one offer in particular, it's going to feel more cohesive. And I think that will catch people's attention. If they keep seeing the same branding show up, they realize it's all together. It's all the same thing coming up. And then you hit those touch points where they're saying it 7 times. And then within that 7, they're like catching their interest and like, oh, this is a thing she's doing. And let me look at this, like really look at it. And yeah, I love that you already recognize that maybe starting ahead of time, and maybe our listeners starting your launch ahead of time and just getting people ready a little bit earlier, then you are more likely to hit those touch points and hit those higher numbers of them seeing your content. And we've shared before, like if you're not posting enough to where you're annoying yourself, you're not posting enough. You need to be annoying yourself. You're posting so much about your product because so little part of your audience is going to see it. Okay, so next question for you. Did your email list grow?
My email list has just really been stagnant. I'm not losing a ton of people, so that's good, but I'm not growing. So yeah, I need to definitely improve that. And so part of the kind of a goal that I've set for myself is to drop reminders in my Instagram postings, reminding people to sign up. Like I used that that popular meme of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce at the Super Bowl, and so I made that into a newsletter sign up invitation. So I need to pull a few seasonal images for the next few months and put those into my Instagram feed as well.
Well, one of my favorite things is to share for a week straight. So a like a freebie or an event or something that gets them onto the email list for the entire week, and just kind of dedicate that week to getting people on the list and give them a reason to join now, like that week.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of those 3 weeks, you can kind of nurture and interest and do a little bit more about that. But just sharing that strategy, if anybody else finds that helpful. That's one thing that I love, is to do like a week's worth of get on my email list and then take a break from that.
Yeah. So obviously, if you're doing any kind of recurring pattern offer, like I mentioned, I'm going back to the little bit different block of it is a block of the month, but I'm condensing it. I've got 6 new patterns for the collection. So yeah, that will be a way to get people onto my list.
All right. So we know you didn't reach your goals. Did you get a little more interest while you were launching?
I got some good feedback. It's that typical thing that people say they're interested, but the specific day of the workshop doesn't work. So they were asking about, is this going to be recorded and offered later? So looking ahead, I think my strategy is going to pivot a little bit, and I want to get the recordings done for an on-demand workshop, and then I can market it as an on-demand thing, and then we'll see where it goes. So kind of pivoting my strategy, learning my lessons, and trying to apply them.
And listening to your audience. So you're listening to your audience. The feedback you're getting is that they're looking for a digital course rather than a live teaching event. And yeah, you're pivoting. And I think that's great that you're learning. And kind of goes into our last question, which is kind of like, not kind of like, but is, what would you keep the same and what would you do differently?
I am hoping that offering a bigger discount or, a special offer to my email list will reward them, so that I can, if I put a special coupon code for my email audience, that validates their choice to stay a subscriber. And then Definitely the longer social media time frame and more targeted messaging in that way will definitely be what I take into a future launch. I do have one other piece to the puzzle, because I did offer this same sampler pattern last year, but my launch went to a webinar first and then offered the sampler pattern. And I had good results with the webinar. So I think I want to incorporate that again moving forward. I just have to plan the topics a little better. I have seen people in other online industries, they have a set webinar topic that they replay over and over. I don't know if that would be attractive for the quilting world. Shannon Brinkley does it. She does her scrappy applique trunk show over and over. So, maybe I should just jump on that bandwagon. And now that I have a few of the little bit different finished quilts, I can do that, and I could have a couple different offers. So yeah, lots of ideas. So
I love that you lit up though when you were talking about webinars, lit up that you've gotten such great feedback on that webinar. I think that's definitely something to bring into the next one.
Yeah.
So what is coming up for you and your business?
Well, I've mentioned a couple times the little bit different part 2.0 collection, additional blocks for that. So that is out in the world. The first block of the new series has been released in April. So you can find that at truebluequilts.com. And I've got some new patterns in the works and coming out throughout the year. So lots of fun quilty stuff coming up.
All right, Andi, and where can they see more from you?
You can find me on my website, truebluequilts.com. And I use that same name on Instagram, Facebook, and my YouTube channel, True Blue Quilts, has new content I shoot for every week, but we all know life gets busy. So 2 to 3 times a month, you can find new videos on YouTube at True Blue Quilts.
Excellent. I want to thank you one more time for being brave enough to share your launch experience with us. And I think it's going to be really powerful and valuable for everyone to hear your story. So thank you for allowing me to interview you.
Thanks, Tori. We hope everyone continues to have fun and do a little quilting on the side. What a great discussion. If you enjoyed this episode of Quilting on the Side, please leave us a review on whichever platform you're listening. It can be iTunes, Spotify, or even our YouTube channel.
And hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our next chat. Until then, remember to have fun in your business and do a little quilting on the side.